They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
Okay, guys, I have a very exciting announcement. I don't know if I've showed this on this channel, but recently we got a Flock jersey sample, which I am very, very excited about because what we're going to be doing is for everybody that is over there on Patreon supporting the channel, I am going to be going through and hopefully every single month be doing Flock jersey giveaways. I'm not going to be selling these jerseys or anything because they cost a lot to make, so I really don't want to be charging someone 60, 70 bucks for a jersey and everyone thinking I'm making so much money from it, when in reality, that's just how much they cost because they're custom. So instead, I'm just going to be doing it, hey, if you're supporting the channel, I appreciate you. I'm going to be buying them with my own money and shipping them to you, but you have to be on the lookout for your DMs because I'll DM you saying, hey, what's your name? What number do you want? What's your size? What's your address? So anyway, let me show y'all the jerseys. Very excited about it. Okay, so pretty much all I've been wearing for the past 2 weeks is this jersey. It is a baseball jersey, but that's the style that I like. So if y'all want one of those, please shoot me a DM over there on Patreon saying, hey, can you get me in the giveaway chance? Can you make sure that my name is in that raffle? That way we can try to get everyone involved that wants to be. But anyway, what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be going through and identifying some players that we are wanting to sell, some players that we're wanting to trade away before our fantasy basketball deadlines. And of course, before we get into the video, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. Don't know how much I have to say that. But let's dive into it. And another thing, I don't know how much we have to talk about, is my number one sell high player. And it's because the questions I get in the premiere are just kind of baffling with him. And I understand that, yes, he is extremely talented. But here with Ja Morant, people are just way too high on him. I mean, if you were looking at Ja, yes, I would not be surprised if, just say, in 2 or 3 years, he is an all-NBA first-team type player. That's the type of potential that he has. I mean, he is straight up elite in terms of his age-adjusted production. But this is fantasy basketball in 2021. We're not trying to build an NBA team here. This isn't 2K. You're not drafting for the future. Now, yes, if you're playing in a dynasty format, Ja Morant is someone that you want to be holding as tight as you can to your chest. But right now, in what everybody else is playing in a redraft 2021 fantasy basketball league, you're going to be looking at Ja Morant and his name value because of his long-term upside and his special ability on the court just far exceeds what he's actually giving you in terms of his fantasy basketball production. Because you go through, you look at his points scored per game, and yeah, it's high, 20 points a game, but we know that's not where you end with fantasy basketball. You need to be checking off multiple boxes, and you go over his rebounds, and they're at 3.5. And quick side note, all these stats are going to be from the past 2 weeks, so this is an 8-game sample that we're looking at with Ja Morant, but it's really similar with the entire season, so it's kind of the same regardless. And his assist numbers are going to be up. But the problem is you're looking at Ja, and you go, okay, this is a player giving us 20 points a game, 7 assists over the past 14 days. And outside of that, he is below average to very bad in every other category. So if you're playing in a points league, if you're playing in a category league, it doesn't matter. Ja Morant is not that impactful. I mean, his field goal percentage is down there at 44%. He's only making 1 3-pointer a game. His free throw percentage is down there at 70%, and he's going to the line often. So this is going to hurt you in those category formats. His turnovers are up over 3. So with Ja Morant, I understand. Yes, he's very talented. But I'm tired of being asked in the premieres questions about him going, hey, would you rather have Ja Morant or would you rather have Terry Rozier? And I'm sitting here going, are you kidding me? Terry Rozier is averaging almost more points across the board outside of assist. So what's the question here? He's averaging over 2.5 more threes. He's averaging more rebounds. He's averaging more defensive statistics. His efficiency is better. So I think that right now with Ja Morant, I don't know why anybody who is still watching these videos would have him by now, because I've been pounding on the table to sell all season with his name value being worth so much more than his actual production. But still, a player that I'm going to be looking to sell if we can. Okay, so now our next guy that we're going to be talking about selling is someone that, similar to Ja Morant, we've been saying to sell him forever now. And similar to that, I would be surprised if that many people in this audience have him. This is going to be Russell Westbrook. Okay, so I understand, guys. It looks like I made a massive mistake saying to sell Russell Westbrook low about a month ago. And I repeated the sentiment over and over and over again, like we did with Jamal Murray. And Westbrook, it doesn't matter what league format you're playing in. He has been elite over the past 2 weeks. He looks like the player that he was in Oklahoma City, except a little bit worse efficiency, but still, those raw totals are absolutely absurd. Not only are the per game numbers absurd with Westbrook right now, but he's also playing more games than I expected. I mean, he's been able to stay relatively healthy. Over the past 14 days, he's played 7 games, averaging 37 minutes a night. And yeah, the efficiency is still horrendous with Westbrook, with him down at 41% from the field, 72% from the free throw line, and the turnovers being up close to 6 a game over the past 2 weeks. But it simply doesn't matter because he is so far ahead of the competition in what he's giving you with points, rebounds, and assists, and honestly defensive statistics to go along with this, where over the past 2 weeks he's averaging 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 13 assists a night. That's over 7 games. That's a pretty big sample. So Westbrook has been elite. There's no way that we can go away from this. There's no way that I can lie to y'all. I just have to sit here and I have to say, I am sorry for anybody who sold Russell Westbrook way too low because of my advice. I was wrong. I'm going to work to do better in the future. But just because we were wrong previously doesn't mean we have to look at Westbrook and go, we can never say to sell him again. Because now, if anybody's watching this video that still has Westbrook, I believe is the right time to sell him. And that's because, A, we know that he's at a higher injury risk than a lot of other players because of his elite numbers of his usage rate that he had in Oklahoma City for so long. To go along with this, we've seen him have multiple injuries at the beginning of this year that could flare back up. And most importantly, we're looking at this Wizards team. And yes, they are significantly better than they were at the beginning of the season. But at the end of the day, they're sitting in the 12th seed. They're 17-29. Only 10 teams make the play-in tournament. So Westbrook right now is doing everything he can. He is putting this team on his back. He is trying to get this team to that play-in tournament. And I know that's going to lead to a ton of fantasy production. But what happens if over the next week, over the next 2 weeks, you see this team just say they go on a 3-7 skid and then they are just completely out. Say they go to 20-36 and they're like, hey, we have no shot at the play-in tournament. Westbrook, we have over contract for the next few seasons. There's no reason for him to be playing 37 minutes a night. There's no reason for him to be playing back-to-backs. And you get a dramatic drop-off in the amount of games that he is playing. So because of this, I know that I have to sit here. I have to take the L. We cannot run from it. But still, Westbrook going to be someone I'm looking to sell. Okay, so now another player that I'm going to be looking to sell is someone else who we have injury concerns with. Someone else that is on a very bad team. Someone else that was in this trade. John Wall is going to be our next sell. And here, it doesn't matter if you're playing in a category format. It doesn't matter if you are going to be playing in a points league format. Now, obviously, you would rather have John Wall in a points league because of the efficiency just being so bad in Houston. Over the past 2 weeks, he shot 31% from the field, which we understand is disgusting. So if you're playing in a category league, you're pretty much just punting field goal percentage right out the gate. But here with John Wall, even in a points league, I'm going to be looking to sell because you go, A, we know about the injury concerns. And yes, he is seeing more minutes. He's seeing more games played when this team has no Victor Oladipo. But to go along with this Houston team is bad. They are 13-34. Obviously, they're not playing for anything this season. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. This is going to be a very long rebuild. But we have to sit here and we have to ask ourselves, very similar to what we did with Westbrook. At what point do they decide to go, hey, John Wall, you're not playing a single back-to-back. Hey, to go along with this, we're capping your minutes at 28, 29 minutes a night every single time. And, with John Wall, that he's also not going to be giving you the efficiency when he does play. So, although he is averaging 9.5 assists over the past 14 days, 17 points, I think that what you do here with John Wall is you look to sell him because his name value is still very high. I mean, you could go out, sell a John Wall for a Josh Hart plus, and I know that may not necessarily look that appealing, but instead, maybe what you want to do is you want to create a package together. Maybe you try to go out and in a category format, attach a piece to John Wall to get to a Chris Paul, or maybe in a points league format, you go out there and attach a piece to get John Collins. So please, guys, Please, please, please. I know that I was wrong with these two players previously, but listen this time, and I'm not going to try to do that again. Okay. So anyway, the next guy we are going to be talking about, we mentioned him on the last video, so we're going to just talk about him briefly. It's going to be Tobias Harris, the playmaker that has been pretty much running the half-court offense for the Philadelphia 76ers over the past few weeks. But now we know that Joel Embiid is close to returning. And with Joel Embiid returning, we understand that he's the playmaker on this team. He is going to be the guy getting everyone involved. He's going to be taking the majority of the shots, where I don't think that hurts Ben Simmons, because we actually saw Ben Simmons have his numbers drop with no Joel Embiid there, because he pretty much scores all his points whenever they're in transition. He's mainly just a defensive superstar, not a facilitator of offense. But here with Tobias Harris, I mean, he has stepped up into a role with no Joel Embiid where he's been very impactful. Not only has he been coming through with some great numbers with volume, where over the past 14 days, he's averaging 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, but the efficiency is very high to go along with this. I mean, he's shooting 55% from the field, over 90% from the free throw line. So yeah, Tobias Harris, he's been great with no Joel Embiid, but the volume's going to go down whenever Joel Embiid comes back. So if you're playing in a category format, sure, I'm fine holding on to Tobias Harris because he's going to be a really good player, especially when Joel Embiid comes back. It's going to limit his turnovers. So if a category league, you're looking to limit turnovers, if you want to rack up a high field goal and free throw percentage, I'm fine holding on to Tobias Harris. But if you're playing in a points league, that's where I think you want to look to go and sell. Okay, so now let's bring up our next player. And we've had a lot of questions about this player in the premieres as of late. It's going to be Jamal Murray. And with Jamal Murray, the reason we're going to be saying to sell him is, yes, I understand he's had elite production, but Aaron Gordon is going to be taking away minutes. Aaron Gordon is going to be taking away shots at the end of possessions. So what we're going to expect here is Jamal Murray to go from 37 minutes a night to possibly down to 34. I mean, that's only natural. I know Jamal Murray is very young. I know that he has shown no signs of not being able to handle this type of workload. But if you're the Denver Nuggets and you're making that push for the NBA title, I don't see why you're going to be playing one of your stars at the end of the regular season. 37 minutes a night when this is one of the fastest seasons that we've ever had, when these players are playing a historic amount of back-to-backs. So with Jamal Murray, I just think that I understand he's playing a different position than Aaron Gordon, but the overall lineup is going to be mixed around to the point where I think you can see Jamal Murray playing a little bit less because Murray's not that prototypical guard. He's not the guy generating all the offense. We know Nikola Jokic is the main person in that rotation that is generating offense, creating assists, creating shots for other players. So you can have no guard really on the court. You can have Jokic as your pseudo point guard. So I think Jamal Murray going to take a step back, similar to what we said with Damian Lillard, with Norman Powell, with CJ McCollum, with Nurkic all coming in. I think you're going to see the same thing with Jamal Murray in his minutes per night. Okay, so now our next player we're going to be talking about, you can look to sell him now. I would probably want to wait another week or two, depending on when your fantasy basketball trade deadline is. But this is going to be Jonas Valancius. And I understand, guys, Jaren Jackson Jr. has been teasing us all season now. I mean, every single week we go, hey, in 2 weeks, you're going to have Jaren Jackson Jr. back, and it hasn't happened so far. But recent report comes out, says, hey, Jaren Jackson Jr. will 100% be back in April. And I know that doesn't mean a whole lot, but at this point, I mean, pretty much nobody's holding out hope for Jaren Jackson Jr. Everybody understands that we have been disappointed with him time and time again. And because of that, people are looking at Jonas Valancius just as a safe option that's going to be up there in terms of a top 30 fantasy basketball asset for the rest of the season, where we go, yeah, if Jaren Jackson Jr. indeed continues to push back his return, that's going to be the case. But if Jaren Jackson Jr. ends up coming back at the end of April, just say he comes around April 20th, then we go, crap, Valancius is going to see less shots. He's going to see less minutes. More importantly, he's going to see less rebounds. He's actually averaging a ridiculous 15 rebounds a night over the past 14 days, and this isn't a small sample. I mean, it's 8 games played. So please, guys, if you have Jonas Valancius, go explore trade options. Obviously, if the owner you're talking to thinks Jaren Jackson Jr. is coming back, then that's not the guy you want to be trading with. But you need to look for someone that's given out all hope on Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all got something from it. as always, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.